The idea arrived quietly. It often did. The afternoon had settled into the cottage like a well-worn jumper. Warm, familiar, knitted woolen threads entwined like friendship ears in downy paws. And it was in no hurry to go anywhere. Sunlight leaned through the sitting-room window in wide, pale stripes, catching dust motes as they drifted and waltzed in lazy spirals. Berry lay on his tumblington on the rug, fitting together the last few pieces of a jigsaw puzzle that showed a summary picture of a group of bunnies sitting round a crackly popping campfire in front of a blue canvas tent. The bunnies in the jigsaw were contentedly toasting plumptious marshmallows. The tent glowed, inviting in the light of the campfire. He pressed one piece into place, then paused, lifting his head. "Roscoe," he said, "what if the room was smaller?" Roscoe looked up from the armchair, where he was darning a loose stitch in one of Floyd's mittens. He'd snagged it on a pine cone he had been collecting for a collage. "Smaller how?" Berry rolled onto his side and gestured vaguely at the space beneath the wooden clothes horse, which was folded and leaning against the wall, waiting for laundry day. "Smaller like tucked in smaller." Floyd, who was lining up his marbles by colour along the skirting board, glanced over. "Smaller, but on purpose," he said. Millie Moonbeam's ears perked up from the window seat, where she was reading her cookery book, with her legs tucked neatly beneath her. "Smaller like a secret?" she asked. Roscoe smiled, the sort of smile that meant a thought had tiptoed in and decided to stay. "A den," he said gently. That settled it. The clothes horse was fetched and carefully unfolded in the middle of the sitting room, its wooden legs stretched out wide and steady, making a shape that looked suddenly very promising indeed. Berry fetched the biggest blanket first, the thick quilted one with a few stray cotton strands that tickled if they brushed the small bunny nose. Floyd followed with a lighter blanket that smelled faintly of soap and sunshine. Caratina brought 2 fluffy cushions and a spare pillow, while Millie Moonbeam disappeared briefly and returned with a length of ribbon for tying the door flap back, just in case. They worked slowly, thoughtfully. The blankets were draped over the clothes horse, so they hung down on all sides, brushing the rug and gathering slightly at the edges. Roscoe knelt to adjust the corners, tucking them in just enough so the den felt enclosed, but not too much. The blanket sides billowed and puffed in comfortable sighs. "Dens need breathing room," he said, "same as bunnies." Inside, cushions were plumped into place. The pillow was patted until it sat just right. Berry crawled in first, holding the blanket edge open so the others could follow. "Oh," he whispered once they were all inside. "It sounds different in here." It did. The cottage noises softened as though they'd been wrapped in wool. The ticking clock was quieter. The wind at the window became a distant hush. Even their breathing sounded rounder, slower. Floyd lay on his back, staring up at the underside of the blanket roof. It's like the room's listening instead of talking. Millie Moonbeam smiled, or like it's telling a secret and doesn't want to be overheard. Roscoe eased himself in last, settling cross-legged near the opening. The den glowed softly with borrowed light, pale gold shafts filtering through the blanket threads. "Right," he said. "What does a proper den need?" Berry considered. "A lamp," he said, "but not a big one." Caratina nodded. "A lantern." Roscoe reached just outside and fetched the small camping lantern from the shelf, setting it carefully in the centre. Its glow was gentle and amber, like buttercups in late afternoon sun. The den felt complete now. For a while, no one spoke. They listened instead to the faint rustle of the blankets as the clothes horse settled, to the distant clink of a spoon in the kitchen where a breeze nudged it, to the quiet comfort of being together in a smaller world. Berry broke the silence. This would be a good place for a story. It would, Roscoe agreed, but not a loud one. Floyd rolled onto his side, or a long one. Roscoe thought for a moment. Then perhaps, he said, it's a story about staying in. So he told them about a little mouse who built a house inside a teapot and discovered that the best part of small spaces was knowing exactly where everything was. He told it slowly, letting the words settle like falling leaves fluttering down on lush grass, and let the pauses do their quiet work. Berry leaned against Caratina. Floyd's eyes half closed. With her fingertip, Millie Moonbeam traced the outline of the daisy that was printed on the cushion. When the story ended, no one rushed to move. Outside the den, the afternoon edged closer to evening. Inside, time felt softer, less certain. Eventually, Berry wriggled slightly. "I've got a slight rumbling in my tumblington," he admitted. Roscoe smiled. That might be a sign. They crawled out one by one, blinking gently at the wider room. The den remained behind them, still standing, still waiting, still an inviting presence. In the kitchen, they prepared a small supper. Crusty bread with soft cheese and butter beans with pieces of crisp tomato, followed by apple slices cut into moons. It had all been sent fresh to the cottage that morning by good old Larry Hagglemouse. They all had a glass of elderflower cordial with a curly straw at the ready. They carried their plates back to the sitting room, and after a moment's thought, brought them back into the den. "Well," said Floyd, settling in again, "this is much more fun. Isn't it fine and cosy having our dinner in the den?" When the feast was finished, crumbs were brushed carefully away. Glasses were held with 2 paws. The lantern glowed steadily, pleased with its important role. Afterwards they lay back once more, listening to the cottage breathe. Outside, the sky deepened. Inside, the den held its cosy glow. At last, Roscoe reached up and gently lifted the edge of the blanket. "Time to let the room be big again," he said softly. No one complained. They folded the blankets neatly, thanking them as they went. The clothes horse was collapsed and returned to its place. Cushions were straightened, the lantern switched off. But something of the den remained, a feeling tucked quietly into the evening. Later, as they gathered with warm milk and yawping yawns, Berry glanced at the empty space where the den had been. "We can make it again," he said. "Yes," Roscoe replied, "whenever we need the room to be smaller." Outside, the cottage settled into night. Inside, the bunnies did too. All was snug. All was well. Night, night.